Emily was a writer who lived a quiet life in the bustling city of New York. Her apartment overlooked a lively street filled with cafes, bookstores, and flower shops. She had a passion for crafting romantic stories, her novels filled with characters who found love in the most unexpected ways. Ironically, Emily herself had never experienced the kind of love she wrote about. For her, love was an idea, a concept she poured into her books but had never truly lived. On a rainy afternoon, seeking refuge from the downpour, Emily wandered into a small, dimly lit bookstore tucked away in a corner of her neighborhood. The air inside smelled of old paper and coffee, a comforting scent she always found soothing. As she moved between the narrow aisles, her fingers brushing against the spines of books, she accidentally collided with someone. The impact sent her bag tumbling to the floor. "I'm so sorry," she exclaimed, bending down to pick it up. "It's all right," came a voice, calm and steady. Emily looked up to see a man standing before her. He was tall, with dark, slightly damp hair and striking green eyes that seemed to hold a quiet intensity. He smiled at her, not annoyed but amused. As she straightened herself, she noticed he was holding a book, her book. The cover of her latest novel stared back at her. She couldn't help but chuckle nervously. "Big fan of romance?" she asked, trying to lighten the moment. "Big fan of your writing, actually," he replied, holding up the book. "You're Emily Carter, right? I've read all your books. You write about love so beautifully that it feels real." For a moment, Emily was caught off guard. She wasn't used to meeting readers like this, especially ones who seemed so genuinely affected by her work. "Thank you," she managed to say. "That means a lot." They introduced themselves. His name was Ethan, a musician who played the violin in a local orchestra. He had an easy charm about him, the kind of presence that made people feel at ease. What started as a brief exchange of pleasantries soon turned into a conversation that flowed naturally, as if they had known each other for years. Over the following weeks, they met often, sometimes by chance and sometimes by design. They discovered a shared love for art, music, and the stories hidden in everyday moments. Emily found herself looking forward to their conversations. Ethan wasn't just a reader of her work, he seemed to understand the emotions she tried to convey in her stories, the nuances of love and connection. Ethan, too, felt something shift within him. As a musician, he was used to expressing himself through his violin, but with Emily, he found words he didn't know he had. He began to play differently, his music taking on a new depth and emotion. He would often invite her to his performances, his violin weaving melodies that spoke directly to her heart. Their bond deepened as they spent more time together. They wandered through art galleries, strolled along the riverside at dusk, and shared quiet evenings in her apartment, where she wrote as he played his violin. Emily found herself inspired in ways she had never been before. Her stories became richer, more authentic, as if Ethan had unlocked a part of her she hadn't known existed. One evening, as they sat on a park bench watching the sun dip below the horizon, Ethan turned to Emily. "You make me see the world differently," he said softly. "You make me believe in the kind of love you write about." Emily felt her heart skip a beat. "And you've made me feel the kind of love I thought only existed in stories," she replied. Their love wasn't without challenges. There were moments of doubt and fear, as both had been cautious with their hearts. But they chose to face those moments together, their bond growing stronger with each trial. Ethan became the music to Emily's words, and she became the story that gave meaning to his melodies. In time, their love story became more than just their own. It found its way into Emily's novels and Ethan's music, touching the hearts of everyone who read or listened. Together, they proved that sometimes, love isn't something you find, it's something that finds you when you're least expecting it, weaving itself into your life like the most beautiful of tales.